Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Andy here. In this video, I'm going to be discussing more information about the primary target audiences that we'd want to be attracting. Now, it's useful to be able to consider and to map out what audiences we want to reach, because then we can get alignment and have a more accurate forecasting of how effectively is our content and our various business initiatives performing to be able to bring the people that are likely to provide the biggest impact to our organization. There are four main categories that I found that my research suggests is the most impactful groups that we can be targeting. That's going to be builders, active, and project founders. That is investors, it's influencers, and of course, developers. Now, each of these groups, each of these categories, each of these customer avatars, as we would call them in the growth marketing space, have their own nuances. For builders, they're looking for ways to be able to add more value to their communities, and they're typically under immense pressure. We're talking about ever increasing sizes to their roadmaps, greater expectations in terms of transparency and communication, and on top of that, they're having to deal with how to mitigate and how to manage their limited budget of time, resources, and capacity. So it's something where the more ways that we can showcase how we can help benefit them and serve them, the more likely we're going to be able to receive a positive response from this group. Regarding investors, it's something that most investors are not developers, yet most project leaders, they come from a technical background or are quite technical in nature. So being able to bridge that gap is something that we should be putting attention towards to make sure that it's easy for developers to be able, for investors to be able to understand what our developers are doing, how it adds value to the space, and most importantly, to make sure that this information is easy for them to share. So that way they can have an increased amount of buy-in from whatever associates they may be working with. Next are the developer community. With developers, it's something that the personality and the way that developers would usually work is pretty different than your non-technical audience. It's about being very specific, very concise, and on top of that, making sure that you showcase exactly how whatever you're offering, whether that's a post or a video or a document that you want them to read, is either going to help them improve performance, help decrease complexity of something, or provide them with some ability to add some new type of feature or functionality that perhaps they didn't know how to do, or that wasn't on their radar previously. And then finally, influencers. Now, I found this to be one of those target markets that a lot of people talk about, but I don't see a whole lot of content out there really discussing what is the strategy to be able to interact and turn influencer relationships into active partnerships. So this is something where this is actually the main attack vector that we worked on when I helped to scale a project from 40 million to 100 million plus, is we mapped out the entire influencer community within that ecosystem. We learned about what types of material are they sharing with their audiences. And then we just looked at how can we adjust our content so that way it's easy for these influencers to be able to begin following us and share our content with their communities. It creates more bang for a buck, essentially, because while we only had about 12 to 14,000 people in our Telegram, there are some influencer channels that have 50, 80,000 people. And if we can get a positive response from these key opinion leaders or KOLs, these people that other people respect, it can create a compounding effect on our overall growth. Now, that is going to be it for discussing the various primary target audiences that my research suggests that we should consider. This is not an exhaustive list. If we really want to, we could lay out probably a dozen different interesting audiences. It's important to note that we want to be focused as focused as possible. So that way we can refine and optimize our overall operational efficiency to produce the biggest impact. And as we start seeing results in targeting the initial groups of people, then we should begin adding on there. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What target audiences do you feel like maybe are not in this list, or perhaps you see some other ways that we can interact and engage with these folks? I'm looking forward to collaborating with you to make an amazing system. In the next video, we're going to discuss more about the deals pipeline itself, how we set up a CRM, and the various moving components within that can help us create something truly awesome in the space. If that sounds interesting, then look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, bye for now, y'all.